Welcome to second episode of Passion and Power. Again, that means you are interested, you like us a little bit, so that's cool. So today, we really wanted to kind of continue our last video vlog, whatever, with talking about what we do a little bit more in depth. We touched on it, so we wanted to kind of get a little bit more specific about what we do here. So Michelle's going to start off with what she does.
Oh, okay. All right, so again, welcome guys. Thanks for coming with us. So basically, what do? I am a doctoral student, and so what that means is I'm getting my PhD in criminology and criminal justice. And so a lot of people say, okay, well, what does that mean? What are you gonna do with that? I could do a lot of things with that. I'm hoping to kind of branch out and do something on the course that may be different than what normal PhD students do. So normally that takes the step of you basically become a professor at a university. And so what I do, specifically my research interests, are policing and communities. And so what I examine are neighborhood characteristics and neighborhood context, and basically how the characteristics of a community, right? How poor it is, poverty-wise, how disadvantaged it is, how that affects community crime. But also I kind of take a broader range and look at how policing within communities affects neighborhood crime, neighborhood culture, and just a range of outcomes, especially given the recent current events within the last few years. But really this is a issue that is really systemic within our society as America. And so I want to kind of get to real evidence-based solutions. A lot within the last few years, I feel like people have definitely been more aware of criminal justice issues and policy and things like that, but I think it's important to ground it within research. The task though has been that criminal justice, a lot of the time, the things that we research and the things that we know stays within us. Stays within professors, it stays within people who know the research. But to get to the public is kind of a hard thing. To get to the people who can affect change, policymakers, police officers, that kind of takes an added step. And so what I want to do is kind of bridge that gap and to make the research that I examine more accessible to people who can do something about it. So specifically, I look at police legitimacy and procedural justice, and how basic ineffective policing may inadvertently contribute to neighborhood crime. So when we think about crime, right, we think about bad neighborhoods in the hood and the mistrust between a lot of communities and the police. And we may be thinking of solutions that don't tackle the broader range of issues. And so what my research does is kind of examine those factors so that we can actually provide solutions that help not only the communities, but police as well. Help them to strengthen communities, help them to realize that their goal of crime control can also be fulfilled when they consider how communities perceive them and how their actions affect the community people, how it affects community culture. Because research shows that when police behave in certain ways, when they're not legitimate, and what that basically means is when people in the community don't believe that the police have a right to exercise the power that has been given to them by law, when they feel like basically like, I don't believe what you say, you have no standing here. That when they believe that, because of what they've seen in their community from the police, they're more likely to basically violate the law. They're less likely to call the police. They're more likely to get involved in gangs. There are negative consequences that come from negative police behavior. And so a lot of times when we're looking at community issues, we're just focusing on the community and their residents and what they're doing without tackling the wider issues. And so I want to make it a collaborative effort, and my goal is to strengthen both the police and the communities to understand kind of what contributes to crime in the long run. So that's what I do. That's what I'm hoping to kind of fill a void in. So I hope that I can kind of focus on these issues, also focus on the issues of being within academia, getting to that place of actually getting my PhD, being a woman in academia and being a Black woman in academia, what that means. And so these are really things that I'm passionate about. I feel like today people are as well. There are a lot of movements going on, which are great. There's a lot of awareness, but it also needs to be based in fact. It needs to be based in, viable strategic solutions that police can look at and implement, because that's really what's going to get us to change. So I'm hoping that with this, I can kind of bridge that gap and make that clear. And so, yeah, that's what I do. It's something I'm obviously very passionate about. And it can be kind of boring in some ways if you just focus on the research and the findings and the conclusions, or it can be really emotional if you're just focusing on the videos that we see and the heartbreak and the communities and what they're going through. I feel like it's important to, stay in that middle and realize, what are the true factors that are contributing to that issue. So yeah, so that's what I do, and that's what I hope to kind of bring light to in the overall.
Bridge into kind of what I do, which, I'm fascinated by people's stories. I feel like, in a nutshell, I'm a storyteller, and I've been doing that for a long time. I feel like I realized my gift as a young person. Didn't know that I was meant to be, a storyteller, but I've been writing stories forever. And so, in '09, I got the opportunity to publish a book, which we'll put somewhere in this video. It's called The Other Man, and that was a huge accomplishment for me because, it really set me on the journey to, fulfill this desire to not only tell stories, but to have these stories reach the masses. So, I ended up getting my degree in writing for television and film, and that's currently what I do is, I branched out not only to be a screenwriter, so writing scripts, but, let me go back a little bit. I parlayed from a prose writer, which is writing books and things like that, into screenwriting, which is a little bit different type of writing, but storytelling at the end of the day. At this point, I am on, this journey to be a successful screenwriter and to, not only allow my to be seen by eyes on paper, but allow them to be seen on screen for everyone to see and enjoy. I've had the great pleasure of writing a series pilot. I have, a short film that I'm hoping to film soon. I've got quite a few projects in the works, and really, at the end of the day, when all else fails, I love to go back to that computer and type out a story, even if it is something that I just throw on various websites that are just stories out there, or something that I hold on to and plan to do something bigger with. It's just that is who I am at the core. I feel like with Michelle and meeting her, it kind of bridged the two worlds together. What she's talking about is real life story. It's everyday, somebody's story happening, and I'm hoping that one day we can, make it a film. Showcase something that goes beyond just, the research she has, but, make it someone's story, even if it's a fictional character, and put it out there for people to understand that, it can be transformed into something that layman's terms can agree with and put it on screen for someone to see and really feel like, okay, I can make a change. I can change something in my community because, you know, I see on TV that this is somebody's story and we need to change what's going on. Hoping that, you know, the work that we do will change people's lives at the end of the day. Me through storytelling, her through I almost want to say telling a story, but
through evidence-based storytelling.
Right. I mean, you know, at the end of the day, where would your evidence come from if not for it happening to someone at some point? I mean, that's what these books that, you know, that they read are all about. Is like, you know, this happened to somebody, and this is how we can now look back and measure, you know, how it can help someone else. So it's nice to look at her work as, you know, more academic and mine is creative, but I think that there are pieces that I pull from her from the research side, and there are pieces that she pulls from me from the creative side. So we definitely complement each other in that way, and our work complements each other and helps each other. I feel like I'm a better writer since meeting her. And so yeah.
So I think it's an important element to have in your relationship, to have, you know, something that drives you both, especially if you guys feed off of one another. So we just wanted to, you know, let you guys know a little bit about who we are as not only a couple, but, you know, who we are as women trying to influence things and trying to really advocate for stories that need to be told. So, you know, let us know what you guys think, if you guys have questions or what have you. But we definitely are interested in connecting.
Yeah, we want your, you know, we would love to take your questions. So any questions you have about, you know, what Michelle does or her work, mine, or, you know, both of us, anything that you want to ask us, please do, and we will gladly answer. If you haven't subscribed yet, please hit that button, subscribe, because if not, you're gonna miss everything. We have so much more to talk about, you know.
But talk for days.
Yes, so we have a lot more coming up, and we want you guys to be a part of it. So hit us up, hit that button,
come through,
hit that button. All right,
but thanks so much.
Yes, thanks for joining us.
Passion and Power.